Okay.
Okay, we are recording now. So quorum being present, I will call the meeting of the Freetown Planning Board to order. Dates May 4th, 2021. Before we get started, I have to read the governor's order. So pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 18, and the governor's March 15th, 2020 order imposing strict limitation on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the Freetown Planning Board will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and/or parties with a right and/or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the Town of Freetown's website, freetownma.gov. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we aren't able to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on Freetown's website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. Okay, so I called the meeting to order. We have a quorum. We got a couple of things that we can take care of before we get into the meat of this. I will go to item number 2 on our agenda. I will call back to order the continuation of a public hearing for the application for Meegin Real Estate LLC. This is for commercial development on Braley Road. Chris, where's that stand?
There's been no update, and as far as I know, they have not submitted any new plans or anything to EPG.
Okay. All right, then we need to reach out to them and tell them that if we don't have some sort of communication with either EPG or ourselves, then they're going to be in danger of us moving forward on what's been presented.
Mm-hmm.
All right. When's our next meeting?
May 18th.
Today's the 4th. It's the 18th, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's hope that they can give us an update by then. So I'll entertain a motion to continue the public hearing for commercial development at 0 Braley Road for Meegin Real Estate LLC to May 18th, 2021, 6 o'clock via Zoom.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's made and supported. There's no further discussion. Roll call vote. Deb Robbins.
Aye.
Deb Robbins, aye. Jim Freites.
Aye.
Jim Freites, aye. How you doing, buddy?
Great, thank you.
Good to have you back. Chris Mello.
Aye.
Chris Mello, aye. Bob Joes.
Aye.
Bob Joes, aye. Kevin Damaris, aye. Motion passes unanimous. Next item on our agenda that needs our addressing, that's for the 32 Middleborough Road. That's item number 4. I will call that continued public hearing back to order. Chris, the applicant, I'm assuming they're here because it's the same one for item number 3. They've asked for a continuation, is that correct?
Yes.
To the 18th?
Yes.
It was still in peer review?
Yes, I believe they're preparing a response to the peer review letter.
Okay. Perfect. We do have the applicant here though, right?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, this is Ryan Young from CVE. I know Chris King's also joining us and Betsy Mason as well for Forge Road. But yes, in terms of Claremont Way, we just, everything's still on pace. We're working through some things and looking at some things that came up from, the last meeting and our subsequent conversations with the butters. So dialing that in a little bit and also going through the EPG letter for comments. So everything's on track. We just needed a little bit more time, and we also thought it would be a little bit better to get some stuff.
That's fine. I've had subsequent conversations with a couple of folks over there, and I think the bulk of their issues, not to speak for them, if you've already done some reaching out to them, that's great. Thank you. There's a significant concern relative to the water on the roadway, the access and egress being manageable and adequate, and the culvert suitability for the intended use now. So if part of your review is that and you're looking at that, that's great. But just know that that's going to be an area, I think, of concern for the planning board.
Yeah, and just to be clear, Mr. Chairman, we're not exactly sure how to run this because understood that there's some issues there, but there's also some issues created by a party not relevant to any of us.
Yeah, I'm aware of that, and for the other board members, it's an adjacent property not involved with the project, has had some runoff issues, and I'm not trying to say that doesn't happen. We're efforting a conversation to see if that can't be mitigated themselves on property, but I think and that's fine. And you guys, you propose what you want to do, and obviously we take everything into consideration. But it's an existing condition that needs to be addressed in some way.
Mhm.
And however you guys go about it, that's fine. Just as long as it was brought to my attention, and I'm bringing it to yours. So.
Yep, understood. Yeah.
All right. If there's nothing else on this, then if there are any interested parties tonight that are here. You've heard the applicant. Again, they're still working with our review engineers, and we will be continuing this public hearing to the 18th. If there's anybody here for this project and has something that they would like to say now rather than the 18th, that's fine. We're in public hearing, so. Okay, not hearing anything, then I will entertain a motion to continue the public hearing for 32 Middleborough Road, proposed solar, to May 18th, 6 o'clock via Zoom.
So moved.
Motion made and supported. There's no further discussion on the motion. Roll call vote. Deb Robbins.
Aye.
Deb Robbins, aye. Jim Freites.
Aye.
Jim Freites, aye. Chris Mello.
Aye.
Chris Mello, aye. Bob Joes.
Aye.
Kevin Damaris, aye. Motion passes unanimously. Okay, do we have the person for item number 1 here? Discussion on the Brayley Road modification request. This is for the Spencer property. This is a previously approved solar plan, and it appears that they're coming in to discuss potential modifications. So do we have somebody here for them?
Yes, that would be myself, Mike Vitiglio, and then Spencer Lenz from Prime Engineering as well.
Well, good evening. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm not sure if Chris was able to send the narrative that I had sent to him, I believe, yesterday. So
Chris, do we have that on the website?
Yes. 1 second.
Okay, so for those that are on the board and those that might be attending the meeting via Zoom, if you go to the Town of Freetown website, freetownma.gov, boards and committees, planning board, you will see on the right-hand side, it says May 4th, 2021 meeting materials. You click on that and you will see there at the bottom, you'll see the proposed modification narrative. We also have the approved plan and proposed modifications to the project. So would you like to be able to screen share?
or I can share my screen.
If not, that's fine. Just Chris, give him, if he wants the screen share, then Chris, make sure that he has the ability to do that. So go ahead, sir. If you.
Sure. So I can give kind of a general background on the modifications. So pretty much we had gotten the rights to the project in February 2020 from the prior developer, CEC. And in that time, we have bought new modules. With the technology, we're able to get the same DC capacity with a reduction in the overall modules needed. So the number went from 4,056 that was proposed on the approved set of plans down to 3,822. And with that reduction, we were actually able to reduce the overall layout of the project. So we were here tonight just to seek approval from the board on that revised layout. Again, it is a reduction, but just wanted to go through the proper channels on that.
No, we do appreciate you reaching out. You know, most oftentimes when there's a proposed modification, it's typically not a reduction, although the last two we've had were reductions in the overall. We read the narrative, it's exactly what you said it is. So you're reducing the overall impact on everything, incursion into the buffer zone and all. And I apologize, this has been a long time that the board has approved this. So are there going to be any changes to the proposed stormwater management?
Spencer, you might be able to weigh in on that, but I don't believe so.
Yeah, no, there would be no changes. The stormwater management is going to function the same.
Okay. I'm just trying to flip back and forth between the approved plan and the modifications to the plan. And
Yeah, so like the narrative says, it's just a reduction in the overall fenced area and our impact in the 100-foot buffer area. One additional thing on the proposed layout is that the equipment pad also ends up lying out of the 100-foot buffer zone, and it
I
didn't
see
previously.
that, yeah.
So that is
Okay.
one big improvement, I would say.
It would seem, just so I could get the, where's the, yeah. So in the southeast corner is where you've had the bulk of your reduction. Is that correct?
Yeah, there and on the on just the eastern side there, we're able to
Yep.
reduce a lot of area within that buffer zone for that wetland as well.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to open it up to the board. This isn't a public hearing, and basically what you're asking us, I don't want to speak for you, but does this rise to the level of being considered a major modification that would require a whole new public hearing, or does it fall within the previously approved, permit plans, and will it substantially conform with what was already permitted? So I think that's what you're asking us now to make that determination. So if anybody's looking for my opinion, I would consider this, a minor modification, particularly since it's a reduction and they're lessening the scope of the work. And it's staying in substantial compliance with the actual permit that was given. So that's my opinion. Does anybody else have an opinion?
Mr. Chair, through you to the applicant.
Please.
Is there any changes asked for or needed for waiver request, your waiver request that you had, or conditions that were assigned to it?
All the parameters within the first submission and approval would meet these ones, and we would not need anything additional to that.
So it would still conform to any conditions that you currently have on it?
Yes,
Perfect.
correct.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else? Okay, if not, then sometimes we do this by consensus. If somebody wants to give me a motion that states basically that planning board deems that this is does not rise to the level of being considered a major modification, therefore a new public hearing is not required.
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion that in the opinion of the planning board, this doesn't require a major modification, and this is indeed a minor modification to the site plan.
I have a motion.
Second.
Thank you. Motion's been made and supported. If there's no further discussion on the motion, hearing none, roll call vote. Deb Robbins.
Aye.
Deb Robbins, aye. Jim Freites.
Aye.
Jim Freites, aye. Chris Mello.
Aye.
Chris Mello, aye. Bob Joes.
Aye.
Bob Joes, aye. Kevin Damaris, aye. Motion passes unanimous. So typically what we do is if this will be this is the final set of plans that you're going to be submitting for your
Correct.
building permit, if you will.
We
Yes?
plan on going for a building permit within the next week or so.
No, so my question is this isn't just a conceptual plan just to show us. What I'm looking for is a plan of record. I want to make sure that when we put this plan in there, we want to make sure that somebody can look and say, okay, this is the new plan of record. So if the plan that you've submitted to us should be considered a new plan of record, that's fine. We will just recognize this as the plan. If not, and you're going to fortify your plans for building permit purposes, then we would accept those and then just keep those as the new ones.
I
making
guess
any
I'll
sense?
say either way, because that site plan is pulled out of our building permit plans, which we plan on submitting.
Well, there you go. See, so that makes sense. So what I'll do is, what's this? The plan, proposed modifications to project. This is a plan date. So just, Chris, for the record, this plan dated March 18th. No, revision date, excuse me, the revision date, 5/1/2019. Is that correct?
No, there might be another plan which should be from 2021. So I believe that's the.
Oh, what am I? Hold on. I'm just looking at the plan that was submitted under proposed modifications to project, and I'm looking at the.
Revision date of April 6th, 2021, should be the correct plan.
Oh, it's right above that. Hello. Yep. All right. I've been to the optometrist. I know I need a new prescription, so there you go.
No
So
problem.
April 6th. Thank you. Chris, just let the record reflect that the plan submitted revision date April 6th and submitted at this evening's meeting is the new plan of record. All right. We'll make sure that's in the minutes, please.
Mhm.
All right. Okay, so now that we have that, you'll just typically you'll let us know when construction is going to start. So if we need to get out there and look at anything or whatever, I'm going to assume you're going to follow up with conservation as well.
Yes.
Okay.
We actually have
Wait till you meet
a
that.
construction
Yeah.
meeting Thursday. But yes, we're going to follow up with all the boards when we do apply for the building permit.
Yeah. You'll have to do. You'll just have to do something similar to what you did.
Okay.
And I would imagine too, you'll probably want to look at the order of conditions and just check the expiration date on that. Just make sure that you're going to be within the time frame that's allowed. Otherwise, you may have to ask for a extension.
Sure.
All
Mr.
right.
Chair, Mr. Chair, do you need a vote
Sir.
on the accepting the plan for?
Yeah,
the-
if you want to make it tidier, that's fine. I'll entertain a motion that we accept the plan submitted, revision date April 6, 2021, for the proposed solar facility and on Spencer's property. Is it Spencer or Kendrick? Spencer.
For the property owner?
Yeah.
Yes, Spencer Trust.
Yep. Spencer Trust property. Yep. I'll entertain
So-
that motion. Go ahead.
So moved.
Thank you. I need a second.
Second.
Thank you. Motion made, supported. There's no further discussion. Hearing none. All in favor, roll call. Deb Robbins.
Aye.
Deb Robbins, aye. Jim Freites.
Aye.
Jim Freites, aye. Chris Mello.
Aye.
Chris Mello, aye. Bob Joes.
Aye.
Bob Joes, aye. Kevin Damaris, aye. Motion passes unanimous. All right, gentlemen, good luck.
Great. Thank you. Have a great night.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you too now. Yep. Have a great night.
Yep.
Okay, now back to Chris. I should have gotten a hard copy of tonight's agenda. That's my bad. So next on our agenda, we have item number 3. This is a continued public hearing, so I will call it back to order. This is for an application for CVE North America to construct a large-scale solar array at a property located at 12 Forge Road. This is, like I said, a continuation of our public hearing, so this has been going on for quite some time. If there are interested parties, again, go to our website. You will find all the relevant information there. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to get our attention, and I will allow you to ask your questions through the chair. The applicant will answer. Okay. Whoever would like to start, please feel free. Somebody from CVE here?
Hi, Mr. Chairman.
Hello?
This
Yeah,
is Ryan.
hello.
You can hear me?
I can hear you now, sir, yeah.
Great. Yeah, this is Ryan Young with CVE for the applicant. Also with me here tonight is Betsy Mason with Cleveland's Raw Group and Chris King with Atlantic Design Engineers. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to Chris.
Yep, good
Okay,
evening.
thank
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Ryan. Hopefully everybody can hear me. This is Christopher King with Atlantic Design Engineers. As the chair had noted, this is a continuation of a project that has been before the board for some time. If you recall, the last time we met, we were tasked with addressing the standards or criterion of review outlined within the site plan approval section of the zoning bylaw. And so we prepared what I feel is a pretty comprehensive set of impact statements addressing traffic, parking, landscape screening, lighting, noise, and have been working with not only EPG, but also the third-party noise consultant that they have hired to provide the additional information requested. And we feel that the development impact statements that we provided in conjunction with the additional information provided demonstrate that the project meets the criteria for approval under the regulations. We are in receipt of the letter from Environmental Partners Group dated yesterday, which summarizes the development impact statements. And we feel that the summaries provided in EPG's review letter only confirms that the project was designed in general conformance with the bylaws. We do acknowledge that there were some outlying comments, or I'll use the term loosely, concerns, but we feel that these are easily handled, if you will, with some conditions of approval. I don't think it would take many. I think a lot of the comments would be interrelated, if you will, within those conditions. We're hoping that based on the information submitted and the receipt of the letter from EPG, we're hoping that the board would be in a position this evening to render a decision. I could certainly go through the letter point by point. I think there's a lot of information there. I think the outstanding comments, if you will, really boil down to two issues, one of which being traffic, and then the other would be the comments related to the sight lines that we've provided, showing how the array really doesn't pose a visual impact. So just really for the sake of time, and I'll try to be as succinct as possible, just kind of going through the letter and following its format. And, I think the first issue, and I think really what kind of landed us here was the traffic issue, and, making sure that the project provides the protocol or any kind of measures that would be required to ensure a safe condition at the project entrance during construction. And so we had provided a litany of information, including the anticipated number of deliveries, tried to categorize those as far as what type of what type of deliveries, what type of trucks will be performing those deliveries. We added on the last page of the plan set, we added a kind of a construction staging and safety and protocol detail as well, which shows the applicant's commitment to provide not only one but multiple police details, not only to ensure safety at the project driveway, but also to ensure that we're providing a safe condition, particularly around the railroad crossing that's located just to the west along Forge Road. So, again, I know that EPG had some additional minor questions as far as the exact number of deliveries, and some questions or concerns regarding some of the surrounding intersections. As the applicant's representative, I would offer that the traffic concerns, I think could easily be managed and mitigated, really with close coordination with the police department. And so this is my first project with the planning board in the town of Freetown, but I know that it is not uncommon in other municipalities to add a condition of approval that would require the applicant and the project construction team to meet with the town and the various departments within the town prior to the start of construction. And that would be done once obviously the project is approved locally, the contractor is selected, and the contractor has had enough time to kind of go through the logistics of the project construction sequencing and have surely a more detailed and better handle on the type of deliveries and frequency of deliveries. And so, we would, offer that certainly be amenable to a condition of approval that would require that type of coordination prior to the start of construction, where the applicant and the construction team will be able to meet with such departments, such as the police department, go over the number of deliveries anticipated, the frequency, the types of trucks required to perform those deliveries, and then come up with a more definitive safety plan, for lack of a better term, that would, exactly identify the need, the location, and the number of police details required to make sure that we're providing a safe condition throughout the duration of the project. And it could also, other items that could be discussed, which are, again, outline comments within the latest EPG letter, is we could discuss permissible working hours. We could discuss, truck routes, preferred truck routes. If, depending on the size of the truck, if it's preferred that the truck access or egress the site utilizing certain routes that are more conducive to the existing sight lines and stopping distances. We would, I guess, argue that, that would be the appropriate time to determine exactly what measures would be in place, basically to mitigate any kind of impact from the construction traffic. I think that in EPG's letter, although there are some outstanding comments, I think they're very quick to acknowledge as well that with some minimal additional measures that these comments could be mitigated, and that's specifically to the number of police details required depending on the nature, number, and frequency of deliveries. And again, there are some other items as far as parking and noise, which I think will be talked about during that same pre-construction meeting, which, we would basically identify the permissible work hours, specify, whether or not weekend and or holiday work would be permitted, and then, have that ironed out prior to the start of construction and memorialized during that meeting so that all parties are amenable to what we're doing and on the same page moving forward through construction. as I touched on, just really quickly, the parking impact assessment, again, the intent, as with every project, is that, all of the construction, parking, and activities and laydown occurs on the project site and does not trickle out and impact the adjacent roadway. So the same would hold true here. Again, all of these are somewhat means and methods, and every contractor would have, could potentially approach the site differently. And so we feel that the pre-construction meeting would be the appropriate time to really finalize these details and provide the information to the town. I think we've given a pretty good general overview of how we envision the project progressing and where we're making accommodations on site, whether it be for equipment or contractor parking or truck turning to take place. But, a contractor could tell us that he can do everything that we've outlined in the contractor laydown area. He may tell us that he doesn't need to construct that and that he could do all that internal within the array itself and just really manage that with sequencing and scheduling to make sure that there is available laydown area, parking, will at the same time enable them to construct the array on schedule and on sequence. And as I initially had noted, I think the other area where there were some comments and some questions on whether or not additional measures are going to be required would be as it relates to the visual impact and the landscape screening. So as we've discussed in the past, this project is going to be going for the pollinator certification. There are multiple aspects of the certification that will be required to attain the levels that the applicant is shooting for. And the pollinator certification doesn't only cover the seed mixes within the array itself, but it also gives some preference or some guidance, if you will, as far as the type of screening plantings that would be installed. So at this time, the pollinator certification process has not yet begun. And so understanding the landscape plan is still subject to change. We would offer that the overall intent will still be met, and that, we, in conjunction with the existing topography and the existing vegetation to remain, which we feel provides a good visual buffer from most of the adjacent properties, we do recognize the opportunity that proposed screening is required in some areas, and we've located that on the plans that you see. And we would, again, we would respectfully request that the board take into consideration that the landscape plan, cannot be finalized at this time just due to the fact that we haven't submitted for the pollinator certification. But before construction starts, the applicant is going to be working with a landscape designer / architect to come up with a more definitive landscaping plan that would not only show the location of the screening, but also the type, number, size, species, and whether or not a single row or possibly a staggered row would be most appropriate. We'd even like to go, a step further, and the applicant would be amenable to a condition of approval that would, at some, I guess, first and foremost would be that prior to the start of construction, a final landscape plan be developed and provided to the town for its review. The applicant would, of course, be amenable to making funding available so that the town could hire its peer consultant to review the final landscape plan. Understanding the challenges behind designing landscape screening on a site that hasn't been cleared yet, we would, again, respectfully request a condition of approval that would provide another mechanism for the town to basically at some point during construction, obviously after the site clearing is completed, and probably while the planting installation is underway, or maybe even that has been completed, give the town an opportunity to visit the site to confirm the adequacy of the screening. And if it's determined that the screening needs to be extended along the north or the east to capture a couple additional holes that weren't evident in the initial analysis, the applicant is certainly amenable to that, and making that a requirement prior to the town issuing a certificate of compliance really puts the the onus on the applicant, and it's really within their financial best interest to fill in the holes, for lack of a better term, so that they're able to apply for their certificate of compliance and meet all the standards as far as visual screening and visual impacts go. It's always a challenge as an engineer, particularly when you've designed a site that meets all of the required setbacks. The idea is that the solar setbacks are there for a number of different reasons, and one of them, it gives you kind of the minimum standard to ensure that it won't cause a visual impact to the adjacent properties. But understanding every site is different, every forest is different, the density and the condition of the understory is really what matters, particularly at eye height. And so, we recognize that during the winter months, during the non-foliar season, that's really when you run the risk of opening up those holes. And so, again, we would offer that would be the appropriate time to go and evaluate the screening proposed. And again, I think the applicant has put their best foot forward at every turn here. And, if the town visits the site and tells them that they want to see a row of screening extended 50 feet, 100 feet, whatever the case may be, to make sure that there are no additional impacts from residents A, B, and C, then, again, the applicant is not only amenable to that, but is with this condition of approval somewhat forced to perform that work, or else they wouldn't be granted a certificate of compliance and get the planning board's ultimate sign off. The other few standards, again, I feel like we've adequately addressed them, whether it be the lighting. We've provided the information basically demonstrating that there is no lighting, and even the control boards, which are LED lit, are contained within a cabinet. And with the construction hours presumably being limited to daytime, that's typical for a solar construction project. Any kind of need for any kind of temporary lighting during construction, is just not required. And so, we, feel that we've, met the standards from a lighting standpoint. And then I think the last standard is the assessment of any potential noise impact. And, again, we've provided, I feel like a significant amount of funding for the third-party review. Epsilon did their review. They generated a letter, which we feel is favorable, and confirmed that the project would not have adverse noise impacts. There was one question on whether or not additional study was required to determine the existing ambient levels. We had solicited the board's opinion, at which time the board felt that additional study was not required. So, again, we feel like the information submitted demonstrates that we, have provided the information concluding that the project will not have adverse noise impacts to the adjacent properties based on the type of equipment, and then just the sheer distance the equipment is located from the adjacent properties. I know that was a lot of information quickly in a nutshell. Again, our intent is hopefully to put the board in a position to render a decision this evening. So if there's anything specifically I have not addressed or something that I've mentioned that you may have additional questions about, please feel free to let us know, and we'll do the best we can to address those this evening.
Okay, does anybody from the board have any questions or comments?
Request, is there
Go ahead.
is there any waiver request that the applicant is asking for?
I'm gonna let the applicant answer that.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
So the question, excuse me, I apologize. The question was, and it's typical with projects, oftentimes there are waivers that are being requested from rules and regulations. And remember, Bob had asked if there were any waiver requests. And if there are, typically we get those in a narrative so that we can vote on them. So he's asking that question. Are there any waiver requests from the site plan review bylaw?
Yeah, Chris, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but no, I mean, the issues that have been risen are sort of maybe a little bit outside of the standards. We feel like we're well within the bounds of the bylaw.
Okay. Does anybody else have any other questions or comments? All right, I do a couple of things. Sorry, my computer just restarted on me. So a couple of things. Lot of conditions going on there, right? And I don't disagree. Oftentimes projects are approved with conditions, so I'm not going to argue with that. We've done it here a number of times. There appears to be a number of issues that are dependent upon some sort of meeting of the minds in the future and some sort of agreement between parties. There's been an offer of potential funds for peer review should it rise to that level when we get there. There's a lot going on there. And I guess what I'm getting at is typically we would ask that if there are specific conditions that are being requested, and these are pretty specific, it's not you've got into great detail relative to, where you believe our authority would begin and end relative to the tree plantings or the visual screenings and the pollination plan and certification. And that's great that you're going for the certification, but what if you don't get it, right? So I just, oftentimes we don't like to condition something upon somebody else. But I get where you're coming from, right? That's a good thing to get the certification for that. Future approval of some sort of traffic plan and traffic mitigation. You stated it a number of times, if it's determined that, another officer is required or we need to do X, Y, and Z. And so if we're going to condition things, typically we need to have it in writing. We can write it up, based on your conversation with us now, or we oftentimes allow the applicant to provide us with the requested conditions, and then we can tweak them if need be. Like you made a statement. We would supply that to the town for their review. And I would not argue, but I would suggest that it's for review and approval, right? And you could see how wording there would, so we need to be mindful of all that. So,
Sure.
So yeah, did somebody say something? I apologize.
Yeah, yes, no. To the chair, please, if I may, Betsy Mason, Cleveland's Law Group.
Hi.
We would be, hello, how are you? We
Good,
would
thanks.
be happy to submit proposed conditions for the planning board's review to include in a decision.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you very much. Yeah, oftentimes we've tried to do it in the past, and many of us have been on this board for a long time. And then what oftentimes happens is intent is lost, and we spend the time going over and creating a document that we need to correct 5 times over. So I would suggest that if you do come up with those conditions, and you've offered that, so thank you, that you would provide them to us prior to a meeting so that we would have time to review it. So if we wanted to add something or tweak something or give you praise for something, we have an opportunity to look at it prior to the meeting. Is that fair?
Yes, of course. And I mean, our goal was to try to get a decision voted on this evening. So I think we would look, to get something to you before the next meeting so that we could, have.
Yeah, I understand. Right. And to be fair, you're no different than most other applicants, right? They all, we always ask what their intent is,
Yeah,
and I'm not
we're not
minimizing
special
it, but it, yeah. And so, I think unless any other board member, and I haven't heard them make that statement, and I would, if they have any comments or concerns, now's the time. I have no problem at this point in time just closing the public hearing. It would appear that we've received all the information from you in detail. We've also received the information from Environmental Partners Group. Adam, are you with us?
Yep, it's Adam Cran with
Oh,
Environmental
great.
Partners.
Sorry, Adam, I do that all the time. So I apologize because I don't have I don't have you up on the computer. Thank you to Environmental Partners Group, right, for this. There's a lot of work that went into this. And so both sides need to deserve some praise in their efforts. But it was pointed out by Environmental Partners Group, and to your point, Chris, you responded to them with, we'd be happy to have a condition. So if you guys would put them in writing so that we could have them for our next meeting, and then give you some sort of decision at our next meeting, that would be great.
That would be wonderful. Betsy Mason again through the chair.
Yeah,
that would be
sure.
And I mean, I assume we may work with Adam at EPG to come to something that would be acceptable to EPG and therefore presumably acceptable to the board as well. And then
I think you hit the nail on the head, Betsy. No, I didn't mean to cut you. I thought you were done.
No. No problem at all.
Yeah, and we received, and this is the part of the job I hate, is we did receive a comment from Environmental Partners Group that the funds have been nearly exhausted, and they were asking how much more review we would need beyond this. But I think your point.
Our interactions with them would be, I mean, at this point, I think basically it's fairly limited in that we would do the work, they would take a look, and
yeah, yep.
So presumably, not that much in terms of additional funds for that purpose.
Well, right. Again, I was just get to the point that we would limit this in scope to just those areas that EPG had laid out, where their concerns were, and what you're offering up for a condition. Actually, I'll put it to the board. I don't want to make this decision on my own. Would you rather that we get copies of this and then make a determination if it's something that we clearly don't understand? Or, I mean, Environmental Partners Group at the end of the day is going to do what we ask them to do and pay them to do, in the future relative to their involvement. So, or should we just have them review it now and be done with it?
Mr. Chair, it's my opinion that conditions, obviously Adam can speak to conditions. However, the board should reserve the final right to judge which conditions they want to not accept, and if we want to tweak conditions that may have been negotiated by EPG and the applicant, the board reserves its rights to do that.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's inherent in everything that we do, if I'm using that correctly. But yes, ultimately the final arbiter of all things is actually the planning board.
Yes, of course.
So,
right, to the chair again. I mean,
sure.
Obviously, case law fully supports the fact that the planning board has has the authority here, and to the extent that you have conditions that need to be checked on down the road, that is within your authority. So, I mean, I think I think we're fully on board with that. I mean, I think we're looking for that pre-construction meeting, perhaps with police chief involvement, just to kind of tie down the traffic issues and otherwise. But I think we are on the same page here.
I just want to
I'm
make sure
sure-
the applicant, I just want to make sure the applicant understood that you may spend time negotiating, and it still might be tweaks at the final approval meeting on the planning board's side. So
Certainly, of course.
I
Yes,
just wanted
sir.
to make sure you understood.
Yes, sir, we do.
And Betsy, oftentimes we I might sound repetitive. I might sound like I'm oversimplifying things, but we have interested parties that are tuning in, and they may not be, as in tuned with what we do as the applicant and planning board is in this.
No,
So
of
oftentimes we'll ask, so I would say this, if there are no other questions or comments from the board, then I think at this point in time, I'm comfortable with entertaining a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make the motion to close the public hearing portion of this meeting.
Second.
Motion's made and supported to close the public hearing for this 12 Forge Road. If there is no further discussion on the motion, the roll call vote. Deb Robbins.
Aye.
Deb Robbins, aye. Jim Freites.
Aye.
Jim Freites, aye. Chris Mello.
Aye.
Chris Mello, aye. Bob Joes.
Aye.
Bob Joes, aye. Kevin Damaris, aye. Motion passes unanimously to close the public hearing. So this is where we stand. And again, you've offered to do it, and I do appreciate it. If you would be so kind as to to get those proposed conditions, and some of them you are going to have to go into great detail like you did, Chris, and that's fine. As long as we have it in the document and it's a defendable document going forward. And if you could get that over to us at your earliest convenience, we will disseminate that to board members. And if the board members have any comments they want to make, don't make them and don't respond to all. Make the comment to Chris in our office, and he can forward that up to the applicant's representative, and we can go from there. The question is still outstanding. Do we want to have EPG look at this prior to it coming to us at our next meeting, or do we want to see if that somehow we get so overwhelmed that we need peer review?
Mr. Chairman, do you want me to kind of make a quick comment about that?
Yes, I'm assuming, just for the record, is Ryan?
This is Ryan.
Or Chris? Yeah. Okay, Ryan, go ahead.
Yeah, just, in regard to Mr. Joseph's comments, which I think are right on, maybe our preference is to go to the board, see where you get. If there's anything that's unclear, then maybe go to EPG, just being mindful of the budget. I'm not sure if the board is keeping track of the budget, but our review expense to EPG is about 25.
No, yeah, and I appreciate that, and I just hope you can appreciate that. Again, this is an opportunity that most other towns don't afford. It's a direction that the town has chosen to go in with, allowing for these types of arrays in most everywhere in town. But by doing this, particularly in a unique spot like this, you're right. It required an extra measure of review, and we certainly do appreciate that.
No, we appreciate it. We do it in every town. It's just this one has been a little bit different, but we appreciate your need to have this done, and so just wanted to make.
Yeah, so I would say this. Without hearing any kind of input from the other board members, one way or the other. I have no problem. Submit it to the board at your earliest convenience. We will review it, and we will have the ability to have comment on it for our next meeting. And should those comments and things get addressed at that meeting, I'm sure we would. Well, I don't want to say sure on anything, but typically there would be a level of confidence that we could move forward with a vote that evening. Yes. Yeah.
No problem.
All right. Is there anybody here from the general public who has a question or comment on this? No. Chris, you don't see anybody waving their hands, trying to get our attention?
Nope.
All right, that being said, I will entertain a motion to continue the public hearing for 12 Forge Road proposed solar array to May 18th, 6 o'clock via Zoom.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
All right, motion made, supported. If no further discussion, roll call vote. Deb Robbins.
Aye.
Jim Freites.
Aye.
Jim Freites, aye. Chris Mello.
Aye.
Chris Mello, aye. Bob Joes.
Aye.
Bob Joes, aye. Kevin Demaris, aye. All right, folks, we look forward to getting that information from you. So thank you very much. Appreciate your patience. Adam, thank you very much, buddy. You all have a good evening.
Thanks very
Thank
much.
you, sir. You as
Have
well.
a good night.
Thank
Bye.
you. Thank you. Adam, we don't have you here for anything else, right?
I don't think so.
All right, well then, you are officially dismissed.
All right. Thanks so much. Have a good night.
Thanks. Yeah, have a good night. Chris, I have a question.
Yes.
All right, so I'm looking at our planning board agendas, and it seems like we have a public hearing for 23 and 25 Gurney Road. It says it's May 5th.
Yeah, it's just when the town clerk entered it on the website, they put the wrong date because I checked and it's on says May.
Well, yeah, they
18th.
put May 5th, 2021 at 12:28 p.m.
Yeah.
So that's kind of
Just a
wrong.
bit.
So can we have them, can we have,
Yep. I'll let them
can
know
we have
tomorrow.
that get,
Just
thank
a
you.
bit
I
outside.
appreciate that. Yeah, just a bit outside. So that's actually for when?
May 18th.
All right.
Those are the
right,
ones that weren't mailed out to abutters.
Yeah, yeah. It seems to be in the water somewhere because we just got some for Conservation Commission and, well, they didn't advertise it in the newspaper. Oh, yeah. So we have to continue those too. All right. Do we have any more information on doing this in-person meeting? And what I mean is getting any kind of the equipment or anything or the, I was up there the other day for a meeting, but nobody there could answer the question. So,
Yeah, yeah, I talked to the police chief and he said that he doesn't know if there's Ethernet ports there. They
okay.
offered to let me go up there, so I'm thinking I'll bring my laptop and an Ethernet cable and see if there
Yeah,
are any ports.
why don't we do that and if need be, like try to go through the whole scenario and let me know, if you need a hand with that or whatever. But let's see if we can't set it up where we can't fit. Whenever you go up there, let me know. All right.
Okay.
And I will try to, I'll take some time off or whatever, or I'll swing up there at the end of the day or whatever and see if we can't, go over and figure out how we can do this. Cause, I think we're going to have to go back in person. So we need to do it. So. Discussion on Serped commissioner appointment. That's you, is it not?
Yeah, we just have to
We just have to
on it.
vote to do that again. Selectmen, who do they have as their Serped rep? Is it going to be the town administrator?
believe it's supposed to be, or one of them, but
All right. You don't know how so you might want to give a polite reminder that they need to either appoint one of themselves or the town administrator or a representative, whoever, Luann, I don't care. They get to make that decision. So I'll entertain a motion that
I nominate.
yes, please, go ahead.
I nominate Selectman Grunwald. Oh, we
To
can't
be
do
the
the
rep.
Selectman.
We can't do you.
Oh.
That's your old job, Bob.
Oh,
So
okay,
you can't
sorry.
do that anymore.
I tried. I think you'd be a
I
great
know you did.
representative.
How about we do? How about we make a motion to appoint Chris as the Serped commissioner for the planning board from Freetown?
If I can't do George, then I'll make a motion to appoint Chris from the planning board. from Freetown.
I need a second.
Second.
Thank you all. Motion to remain, no further discussion. Roll call vote. Deb Robbins.
Aye.
Jim Freites.
Aye.
Jim Freights, aye. Chris Mello.
Aye.
Chris Mello, aye. Bob Joes.
Aye.
Bob Joes, aye. Kevin Damaris, aye. Chris, do we have minutes to approve?
Nope.
You sent those out? I'm sorry.
No,
No. Okay, we'll have them for the next meeting next week.
Yep. yeah,
Okay.
5 PM, right?
Yes, that's at 5 p.m. Make sure you send that Zoom information to council too. Make sure that goes to Jonathan.
Yeah, should I contact him to get the exact wording? Or,
You can, yes, absolutely. You can
Okay.
absolutely contact Jonathan, but it's exemption number 3, potentially. Okay, so folks understand what this is. If you remember, we had, and I got to be mindful of how I say this, but we had a executive session meeting relative to a zoning board of appeals issue several months ago. And what came out of that was their resolution for that is that they were going to remedy through the application to the planning board of a subdivision plan. They have since supplied us with a subdivision plan, and they would like to have a general conversation. So this is scheduled as a standalone meeting in case we have to go into executive session to discuss anything. And this isn't a public hearing. There may be a lot of questions, or there may be, it's just a lot of information that's going on. That's what that's about. So Chris, if we can have the minutes or whatever, or anything, we can do it at our next meeting. That's fine. So if there's nothing else, for those planning board members that are curious, construction has started on the proposed 50, oh no, excuse me, not proposed, it's approved. 55 and over on South Main Street. Tree clearing and land clearing has started. So if there are any interested parties want to go by to see how it's going, well, feel free to go and take a look at it. I will, and I'm trying to facilitate a tour of the Copart. I'm going to give them probably another month, and they are thinking they're going to be completed, I think, mid-June timeframe. So I'm going to try, say another month, well, maybe the end of the month, if anybody's interested in going over to Copart's facility and taking a tour of what they've done over there. Just the general information, I've been over there many times. I believe I've found at least one, if not 2 eagles' nests. And they seem to be happily coexisting over there. See them with catching fish in the Taunton River. I don't know if they have any young ones. But I just thought that was a pretty neat thing. They've done a turtle nesting habitat replenishment over there. I say replenishment. There wasn't hardly any over there, and what that meant when they went down there with a bunch of sand and made some paths to the waterway. And Debbie knows exactly what I'm talking about with the turtles. She gets a great show every year right there at the beach. So they've done that work too. But I think it would be neat for you guys to go over there and take a look at it. So I'm going to try and get something set up. Probably going to be during the week, unless weekends are better. Somebody tell me, what would you think is better?
Kevin, I can be available anytime.
All right. So I'll try to do it some afternoon. All right, we'll send an email out to just let you know when we're doing it. All right, does anybody else have anything else? All righty then. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved.
There you go. Don't fight over that one. I need a second.
Second.
All right.
Second.
Hey, before we go, David is with us, right?
Yes.
I always forget to mention him at the beginning, and it dawns on me at the end. Dave, thank you again for coming and being here. I know you don't participate. You don't get a chance to participate all that much. Not that you don't want to, but thanks again for being here, my friend. So we've got a motion made and supported to adjourn. There's no further discussion. Roll call vote. Debbie Robbins.
Aye.
Debbie Robbins, aye. Jim Freights.
Aye.
Jim Trait's aye. Chris Mello.
Aye.
Chris Mello, aye. Bob Joes.
Aye.
Bob Joes, aye. Kevin Demaris, aye. Motion passes. Meeting as is adjourned. Folks, be safe. And as soon as we get into that information, we'll get it sent out to you guys. So thanks again. We'll see you
Thank
in a
you.
week.
Good night.
Good night.
Have a good
Good night.
night. Bye.
Bye-bye now.